Greetings, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining. This is Mindful Mondays with Kemi, part of the Good Life program on healthy aging brought to you by UC Davis and the City of Oakland, bringing spiritual health classes directly to you all live. Before we get started, let's go over some helpful tips. You will see a small icon at the bottom of your screen that says chat. You will see a sidebar on the right hand side when you click the icon. At the bottom of the sidebar, you can actually type in any comments or questions that you might have during the session. This Zoom class will be recorded and broadcasted on Facebook and YouTube. So please take this time to change your Zoom name if you wish to be identified differently. This is a friendly reminder that by remaining in the Zoom meeting, you consent to allowing your image and photo, video, or film to be used for any legitimate purposes by the organizers, producers, sponsors, and assignees. Lastly, let's remember that this is Zoom. It is not perfect. Your sound or internet might cut out, but remember we are still here and you can always access us on Facebook Live. So if you experience any technical issues accessing our class, please give us a call at 510-255-0232 or email us at info@thegoodlifepath.org. And if you enjoyed today's conversation and wish to be a part of our live session, please support us by clicking on the link posted in the chat to get your free Zoom invitation and reminder to our next session. Because Mindful Mondays is open to all interested in creating a safe space to promote personal growth and advocate for spiritual and mental health awareness. We are committed to building a space for you to come together with others who are open to expand their consciousness. We are not trained therapists and cannot provide you with expert advice about your specific legal work or family situations. However, we can provide you with thoughtful opinions based on our personal experiences. This space is sacred and we expect our conversations to remain private. We ask that you speak respectfully towards one another and not tell group stories outside of our sacred space. We are not doctors and this is not a formal mental health guidance, but this is Mindful Mondays with Kemi, brought to you by UC Davis and the City of Oakland, bringing spiritual health classes directly to you all live.
Happy Monday, all. It is the last Monday of October 2025. Boy, where did this year go? I am looking forward to today's topic as we are in this season of honoring our ancestors and recalling their ways and celebrating their lives in many cultures and many spiritual practices. So today's meditation will be focused on you taking yourself back as far as you can to your childhood to remember those elders, those parents, those aunts, those uncles, those grandparents that have gone before you, even those teachers, even those people that were in your community, that were with your family, that supported you in raising you up. Times are a bit different. So we're not those people that have the neighbors that can bring out the switch or bring out the belt and do whatever to be like that of your parents. We had community parents back in the day, and now we're in a different era. So I definitely want to use today's meditation to remember the good times, remember the ways that we can lift them up, the ones that were the teachers, the doctors, those that were the doulas, the midwives, those that were the scientists, the engineers, all of those royal beings, not the ones that we always see the mainstream media lift up, because we are very aware that slavery is being erased from many of our museums, especially the African American Museum in Washington, as well as other places where they're trying to take our history away. But it is up to us to know that the DNA is within us and it can never leave as long as we continue to say who begat who begat who. Oftentimes we are taught that that is demonic, and it is not. Yet we have the Washington Monument with all of these dead presidents and your dollars and coins. So let's take this moment to really honor where we've come from. Okay, so as always, I take my video off if you are new to Mindful Mondays with Kimmy and the Good Life. And I will share my screen. Your breath is the most important thing. That is the unseen thing that allows you to have the life that you have, to be present in this moment in time with the activities of your limbs. So if you could take a couple of deep breaths, as deep as you can go, withholding it for a few seconds and bringing it back into the space of consistently breathing at your rate that you can. As you look at this image, allow whatever whatever stands out to you, if it's shades of blue, as blue deals with your throat chakra to speak, to see your truth with the image on the third eye of the individual, the tribal beads, let's remember those that tended to the land, the herbalists, the ones that knew the medicinal purposes for those things on the land, those that honored the land, respected the land, giving thanks for the inventors, those that invented new ways of thinking, for the light bulb. May our lights continue to be bright and continue to shine in moments of darkness as we enter into the fall season. Some cultures, we have Day of the Dead, All Saints Day, Dia de los Muertos, where we light a candle to honor them. The doctors before there were hospitals, the midwives, the doulas, those from Gullah Geechee, from South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, Louisiana, Texas, Mississippi, as the Mississippi River connects with the Nile River in Africa, in Egypt. Going all the way back to Pangea when all continents were connected and there was no separation. Call your lineage. Call all the magnificent things that they endured and still persevered. Call their strength. We call their wisdom. We call their courage. We call their brutal honesty, but yet truth. Removing the fears, doubts, chains that have been placed on us to not operate in our fullness. Reclaiming the things that were stolen. Thanking Big Mama for being in the kitchen cooking up the meals on Sunday. Thank you for the ones that prayed for us before we even came into this existence. Thank you for the educators. Thank you for the physicists and the scientists. Thank you for the ones who studied the stars. Thank you to the ones that appreciated and respected the waters that flow on this earth. Recall who you are and whose you are. It is your birthright. Remember their scents, their recipes, their words and wisdom. Recalling the great good memories that were instilled. Take a deep breath in. Exhale through your mouth. You can repeat that about 3 times. Inquire with your physical being to see if there's any tension anywhere in your body. Are you clenching your jaw? Are your shoulders shrugged up? Is your chest tight and caved in, or is it open? Are your hips tight? Is the tightness in your leg? If there's tightness, breathe into that area. And if called to, place hand on that area and lovingly love on that area. And slowly bring yourself back into the space. If it is rotating your neck, your shoulders, shaking your arms, standing up, shaking your legs, whatever that may be, bring yourself back into this space, moment, and time. Okay. Thank you all for that meditation. I want to give thanks for all of you for showing up today. I want to give thanks for your ancestors. I want to give thanks for those long ago from Antigua that you may not even know to call on their names, but those that can assist you, those that are assigned to you, those that can help you again fulfill your purpose in this lifetime and moment. So we have an amazing topic today. And this time, although we have a general announcement that we make that we're not therapists, this time we have a therapist to have this conversation. I'd like to welcome Shahid, who is a godbrother, as well as a licensed marriage and family counselor. And we've had some topics before, and Shahid is always sharing things about the ancestors, DNA from Louisiana. So I felt it was only right because this topic is very sensitive. Some people think it is, demonic, and it's worship, and it's not worship. There's a difference between worship and honoring and revering. And so I kind of want to get into this topic and allow Shahid to kind of help us understand the psychological, I call this warfare, in my opinion, because if you have the mind, then everything else can go. So welcome, Shahid.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
If you are on Zoom with us live in the chat room, his information has been placed in the chat room, and I definitely will share it at the end for those that will catch the recording or maybe watching this on Facebook or live. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Shahid, and why ancestral reverence is very important to you, because again, as I shared on your IG page, that is something that you truly focus on. And so, what brought you to this understanding or this comprehension of the importance of ancestral reverence and honoring?
Yeah, thank you for that. That's a great question. I was born in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and it's very, very heavy on ancestral reverence. Voodoo is very prominent in New Orleans. So we have a lot of as they call spirits, African spirits, in the New Orleans area. But I started on my journey in the Catholic Church. I was an altar boy in the Catholic Church many, many years ago. And then I decided to take a turn from that, and I became a Muslim for the past 25 years. I was Muslim. Then I transitioned from that, and now I'm an Abarisha. I'm an Ifa practitioner. So I think my ancestors, I know my ancestors were guiding me through a spiritual journey to get me where I am today. I'm a licensed master social worker. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. I'm a licensed master social worker. Like I said, born in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I have a wife, Tina Kane. I have two children, and I love the ancestors because um, growing up, we don't realize sometimes who are guiding us. We don't realize sometimes who are supporting us through our different journeys through life. And then once we have that awakening to know who's guiding us, then we begin to, at least for me, begin to fall in love with it and understanding more, and really kind of want to do self-discovery and kind of find out, you know, why my life is going in this direction or why my life is going in that direction. So that's how I came into to love the ancestors.
I think that that's a beautiful, beautiful statement. Let me see. Somebody said, can we make your picture bigger? So we're going to do that. All right. And so hopefully that helps you, Miss Benton, and that you're able to see his picture now and see him, because I did pin him.
No,
And it could also be your view.
the picture's all you. You one big picture. He's up a little bitty picture up in the corner with us. Can you make him where we can see him?
Okay.
They
Could
want
you
me to be you.
So yes, let me make sure. There we go. Does that help, Miss Benton?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
All righty. You want to see who you're talking to? I get it. I get
I
it.
get
Thank
it. I
you.
get it.
I'm thinking of even my own upbringing in childhood, and Catholicism is something that, again, because my family did come from Louisiana. Many people may or may not know that the Vatican has a lot of things that are unseen to the main public, things that they've collected over eons. And I think of even the fact that you said you went into the study of, Muslim, you became a Muslim for 25 years. Me, myself, I did take journeys through different religions, because again, religion and spirituality are two totally different
Yeah.
things. They're not the same thing. Religion is something that is considered to be man-made. Spirituality is spirit. It's what it is. And so, if you could kind of speak to the role that religion has played in our lives to take us away from this practice of our ancestors' ways, because again, when I think of the Gullah Geechee, when I think of even voodoo, it's automatically considered to be demonic. Yet the same people that strip these things from us are doing rituals and calling our stuff demonic. And then you also have the Hispanic culture, which is majority
Yeah.
Catholic, and they have the Day of the Dead, the Dia de los Muertos, where they honor the ancestors. So, could you kind of touch a little bit about, your thoughts in that regard?
Yeah, I think the United States of America, if I may, is more spiritual than religious. And I say that because if you look around in this country, the country is an altar. America is an altar. And you alluded to it earlier, EI, that you have street names after people, bridges named after people, Mount Rushmore. You have all the photos of their presidents on the wall in the White House. You have the money that has the ancestors on it. So I think that the United States and folks who begin to in naming their definition. So I think the America understands the importance of honoring their ancestors. They wouldn't put all this stuff on, names and buildings and airports. I was in a couple of months ago. I was in LaGuardia Airport, and I was saying to myself, I was telling my wife, I was saying to myself, these folks are, putting their names on, airports. So I think what keeps America going is that they understand the power of honoring and venerating ancestors. And I think that they have got it to the point where we are so unconscious that they're doing it, but we see it as demonic.
You just gave me chills. It takes me back to Louisiana because the
Yeah.
town that my family's from, all the streets are named after my family members and people from the community. So, it's really a thing. And in going into my own personal studies, because I would ask questions about, okay, well, where are they from? Like, what is the
Yeah.
origin? Do you even know that? Even when I said who begat who, that
Yeah.
is in the Bible, who
Yeah.
begat who. But if we don't know who begat who within our own lineage, then what are we doing with you know, our own history?
Yeah.
A lot of the times I do look at the simple things of that, for me to go back to a place where the Mound people were along the creeks. And a lot of people don't know about the Mound people. There were ceremonial things in Marksville, very small town, but they have excavated it and created a museum that you
Yeah.
now have to pay for to go in. And where's the money going? So it is all of these different things when we look at Africa reclaiming their minerals and saying that Europe has to get out and people have to get
Yep.
out and can
Yep.
no longer take from their lands. And then you also have countries that are returning stolen goods.
Yep.
And so, my question to you as a social worker, one who is a therapist, how do we move forward to undo what has been done to us in order for us to have this better awareness and even begin understanding this aspect of reverence and honoring?
Yeah, I think we have to have an open mind first. I think so many folks are closed-minded to um learning anything different besides what they already know. I think that's a big challenge. And I think also wanting to seek the knowledge of your lineage, your heritage, wanting to do that. And I would say lastly, being honest with ourselves. I think that's the biggest thing that we have trouble with is kind of being honest with ourselves. Um, when we're trying to identify who we are, sometimes we don't want to do that shadow work. We don't want to look in the mirror. We don't want to see the so-called demons that we are dealing with. So we never are honest with ourselves. So when we're not honest with ourselves, um, we'll never get to the point where we can begin to identify who we are as an ancestor. Because we are an ancestor, regardless of what we believe, what we think. I am a living ancestor right now. And I think if we have an open mind to see that we are a living ancestor, then I think that we'll have the opportunity for us to want to dig deeper to learn more about ourselves
Mm, that dig deeper,
and dig deeper.
it is definitely a thing to want to go that deep, because even the work to heal spiritually, it's not all butterflies and
Mhm.
beautiful things. You know, a lot of stuff did happen in our DNA. So some of that stuff is still embedded in our DNA. The fear, especially when it comes to money. You know, a lot of people may have a thing that they fear success, and that can be ancestral,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
And I want to be clear too when it comes to honoring ancestors. It doesn't mean that all of your ancestors need to be honored.
yeah,
There are some ancestors that did do some things that were not honorable, but I will say that sometimes when they cross over, they see things from a different perspective. And I've had that come up in some conversations with someone recently, realizing that, you know, I feel like so and so has been showing up in different ways to kind of get my attention to forgive. And so, could you speak to that, the role of forgiveness as it plays before, you know, someone may even transition, or even forgiving the ancestors that may have done something, and how that can affect a person's well-being or the
yeah,
importance?
yeah. There's 5 stages of grief, and I think a lot of us, in some part in our lives right now, are dealing with, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. So I think before we can forgive and deal with forgiveness, we have to deal with the denial piece. Before we can forgive and ask for forgiveness, we got to deal with our anger. We got to deal with the bargaining. We got to deal with depression. Then once we deal with all of that, then we'll be able to begin to start accepting things more. So I think that's where we need to look at the grief part of forgiveness.
I love that. You know, for some reason, as you were talking, the group Earth, Wind, and Fire just came up.
Mhm.
They were really ahead of their time with a
Yeah,
lot of the songs, and even their album cover with, you know, the pyramids, and um, just everything about that, the awakening that we had, and the difference between the 70s music and
yeah.
current day music, you know, not knocking this generation. But what are some of the ways that people can begin that process of this healing? You did say denial, dealing with all of those things, but as they come into this, what could you share with them that can guide them into the beginning process of honoring and healing their lineage?
Yeah, yeah. I think, one of the biggest thing is that, I think our community, particularly, like, we hadn't had the opportunity, some of us hadn't even had the opportunity to grieve slavery because epigenetics that still exists within our DNA. In our community, Big Mama said, go drink some water. Boy, go lay down. Girl, go lay down. You ain't nothing wrong with you. We don't need to tell white folks our business. But, many of us are walking around with undiagnosed, mental illness or mental disorders. Um, and when we hear the word mental, we assume that we are quote unquote crazy, like something is wrong with us. But sometimes with epigenetics and how that works is that something that happened to us 7 generations ago, something that happened 7 generations ago, which is affecting us now because it's in our DNA, which is ancestral. And sometimes we don't know we're crying. Sometimes we don't know why we have headaches. We don't know why we are recycling the same partner, we're recycling the same circumstances, we're recycling the same situation. That could be ancestral. So we have to look at identifying a therapist, I would say a therapist, um, to begin to talk through some of the things that we're dealing with, talk through the trauma, talk through the pain, uh, talk through the abandoned womb, talk through those things so that we can begin the healing process. Um, yeah, that's what I would say to that.
I love that you brought epigenetics in because I did share a book, My Grandmother's Hands,
Hmm.
is a book that I share, which I will share at the end. And actually, I'll grab it here. Um, but My Grandmother's Hand is a racialized trauma and pathway to mending our hearts and bodies by Resma Menakem. And again, I will put this book in the chat, but I wanted to show the title of the book. It's a very deep book because it does give also some activities to do. So I definitely would recommend that because it does talk about epigenetics and how that does affect us for those that are the readers or want to listen to the audio book or those that really want to delve into doing
Yeah,
this work because age doesn't matter when it comes to this. You never know. You may do this work and live longer. You may
yeah,
have extended your lifetime because you have cleared up some type of energy. Some people don't like using the word karma or karmic, but that is some of the things that can happen when you begin to elevate your ancestors. And so, one of the things that I like about how sometimes ancestors show up, I kind of want to talk about that. How do they show up for you, and in what ways do they show up for you,
man.
Shahid?
They
You're
they
like, where do
show
I
they
begin?
yeah. They show up mainly in my dreams a lot. Um, they always sending me if I'm talking to somebody and there's something that I don't need to say, a download to come from the answer and say, don't say that. Don't leave that alone. Um, you know, heightened intuition, um, and sometimes just through synchronicities, numerologies, numbers, different smells of my mother, my great grandmother, or my aunt or my grandfather. I smell things. So they once you become in tune with the ancestors and really, um, and that's why I love your meditation piece and sit quietly and meditate and listen and quiet the mind and spirit, they will begin to download. Because I never knew how important meditation was at all. I never knew that. I was like, what are you talking about? Just listen and they'll come to you. I was like, that's crazy. That's crazy. But now, as I sit and do my meditation and do my prayers and do my offerings, I'm realizing I'm hearing the little downloads that come. Um, and the more we become aware of it, and the more that um, it's our power. It's our power. It's our power. And we know, that um, uh, this is why the colonizers called it demonic, because learning about who we are is our true power, and our ancestors are in us. So I would say that to that.
I love that the scents, the smells. For example, smelling cigarettes and you're nowhere near a cigarette.
Yes, yes,
Things of
yes,
that nature are ways that they show up. I always, for those that have been with me since the beginning of Mindful Mondays, I share my story because I didn't have a lot of information that was really given to me. Wasn't I come from a place where you don't ask no questions.
yeah,
Creole was a language, so when the adults spoke, they were speaking in Creole, a broken French language, so the children wouldn't understand, and it wasn't something that was passed down. And so, as I began to study and get into my journey and do ancestral reverence, family members started to come up, family reunions started to
yeah,
happen, connections of people doing ancestral DNA and saying, "Hey, your uncle is my father," or
yeah,
my whatever the case may be. And so, yes, I love that they have ancestry.com. Some people prefer to use African ancestry to do their research with ancestry.com and 23andMe being breached or selling or whatever that is. So if you're not comfortable doing those type of DNA tests, this moment of meditation, this moment of honoring them, this moment of speaking even with them, because they teach in Christianity, absent from the body, present in the spirit. So
Yeah.
that right there, that statement is letting you know that they're still present. What I also love is how a lot of people may really, and I don't want to use the word Bible thump, but they really are stuck to the words of the Bible, but yet they don't understand that people of the Gullah Geechee actually use the book of Psalms.
Mm.
The book of Psalms is filled with rituals and prayers. And so, being that you've come from remember Pig Latin. We've been talking about Pig Latin this week, so that may be something that needs to be brought back up. That is the second time I've heard about Pig Latin. I don't know how many of you guys remember Pig Latin, but Pig Latin was when you took the first letter and you said nay. So instead of saying Kimmy, I would say MEK. So it was a beautiful, I don't know if you know who Pig Latin Shahid, but that was something for these 90s.
I've heard of, but not too familiar with it.
It looks like we have a few people that remember some Pig Latin. Thank you, Miss Dolores, for putting that in the chat space. You just made me smile and remember my childhood and things that I did. So I really appreciate that. Another book that I do want to bring into this space is Of Water and Spirit. I don't know if you know about this book, but Of Water and Spirit by Malidoma Somé. This book is another good book
Good book.
because it talks about ritual magic and him being in the life of an African shaman because he left his community and came to the States and forgot who he was and went back and had to reclaim himself. And so I want to kind of speak to this time of All Saints Day. You are New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Louisiana born. Could you speak to ways that people can honor, or in what ways do the people in Louisiana celebrate this time that we're in? Because the veil, they say, is very thin, the veil. So if we're looking at the United States, which you already said, they are aware with all of the shifts and changes that they're making at this time, they understand what is happening. So
Yeah.
they are capitalizing off of this energy and this window and portal that is open right now. So what would your guidance be for those that may not even understand what the portal is and what that looks like?
Yeah, I think one way to create a portal for anybody as starters is to, create an ancestor altar or a space where a sacred space in your home or where you could begin to really sit and meditate and honor your ancestors. First, honor yourself first, but honor your ancestors. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate, when I first started, I thought I had to have, everything, but it could just be a candle, not even a candle, it's a glass of water. And that's your sacred space. And you sit there and you meditate and you call upon all your good, honorable, ascended ancestors to begin to work with them and ask them to come into your life. Ask them to come into your life. Ask them to come into your being. I want to know, who I am. I want to know who you are. I want to know, part of my history. And as you consistently do that, you constantly do that, things will evolve, things will develop. You will begin to grow. You'll begin to see the signs. You'll begin to see the synchronicity. You'll begin to smell the smells and taste the taste and all the good stuff that the ancestors will provide because you as the individual are trying to get to know yourself, which is them. You are them, they are us, we are them, they are us. So the more we do that, the more we learn about ourselves, and the more we are able to have heightened intuition and get those downloads so that we can be guided by them in the direction that they see best for us to go in this lifetime.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's interesting because again, I think about I bring up the movie Coco. Um, Even though it's speaking of Dia de los Muertos, I definitely always share to watch that movie so that you can understand the importance of why. That movie really displayed how someone was forgotten and they were about to just vanish. They weren't able to visit and come and visit their family. But it took the little boy who was filled with courage to really, go to someone who he thought was in his lineage because he saw only part of a guitar in a picture. And this person that was singing had the guitar, but come to find out it was really his father that was pretty much killed by this person
Yeah.
to become famous. So I definitely recommend to watch Coco. There's a lot of other movies, but that is the first movie that I feel truly displayed what ancestral reverence is or honoring the ancestors really is about. And so I'm curious how many of you, again, by a show of hands, or if anybody wants to unmute to share or have questions that want to talk about this topic, because some of you may have walked into your aunt's house, your auntie's house, your grandmother's house, and you had an area where you saw a bunch of pictures of people who had gone before. That is considered to be a space where we are honoring and remembering those who have gone before.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious because we do have some elders in the building, and I know I'm a new elder, but I definitely would love to hear from those that how do you feel about this? Does it make you feel uncomfortable? Is it something that has piqued your interest? Is it something that you already do? Sometimes we're in the kitchen and you might get a download because you don't have the written recipe, but just a little dash of this and a
Yeah.
little dash of that. You don't have no measurement cup. You don't have none of that. You have the memory of your ancestors that are working through you when you're in that cooking that peach cobbler or that gumbo or that stuff, the yams and the stuffing and all of the fixings. I'm really, really interested because again, this is something that there is seems to be shame behind or
Yeah.
fear or some form of blockage that doesn't allow us to connect with who we are in our totality. Because again, that whole vision of slavery being the main thing, which was again, when I look at the children from 1950s that were at the school and they had to endure that, they're still living,
Yeah.
still here. So
Yeah.
I can understand how for the elders that are on the call, the things that you witnessed, but what are the positive memories that you have of growing up? Like Miss Dolores said, Pig Latin. What are the things that, help you to remember where you've come from? Because this world has become so inundated with distractions that take you away from who you are. And let me pull up the book while we see if anyone wants to kind of share. Because sometimes, again, the topic can be a bit heavy or uncomfortable, but I definitely want to share this. And so this is the book of Water and Spirit, again by Maladoma Patrice Somé. Again, it's a very, very good book. He did grow up in Burkina Faso, and he was taken from his village and went to a Jesuit mission school. So the European ways were taught to him. And so he had to go back to his tradition of the Dagata people, where they again studied the stars, they believed in family. They would have family meetings, if it was issues in the community, the whole community, if the husband and wife had an issue, it was brought to the community. And we've gotten so far away from that to where we don't even really understand the true meaning of what community is. And
Yeah.
so I definitely wanted to share that book. And then I think I see a name that you mentioned. Your wife is with us, so I love to see that support in the chat. And I know that she's also a practitioner, so welcome. I know we have Bree. I see Bree and Miss Carolyn. I'm curious, Miss Carolyn. I know that we've had this conversation before. Hello.
I was thinking about that. Good morning.
Good morning.
In my family, we have always been comfortable calling on the ancestors, speaking to the ancestors, asking their permission before we begin any, major event, including them in prayer. And at church, actually, this just came to my mind because before we take communion, and we take communion every Sunday, oftentimes Pastor will ask if any, call out the name only of someone that you want to bring to the communion table. And I've been planning on asking him. I keep forgetting when I have the opportunity. I can see calling people to the communion table that are gone. They are deceased. But when people are alive, I don't know. I can't make sense of that part. And it's just some little small thing that I'm missing in it, I'm sure. Um, so I find myself never calling anybody's name, dead or alive. Just
Mm.
yeah. And but I just had like a flicker of something that was possibly going to help me make sense of that. And certainly with his explanation, when I remember to ask him, that will help it come full
Mm.
circle. I do still struggle with uh, astrological signs and that sort of thing. I don't think it was learned, but it's something that I've struggled with in my adult life.
Well, I think Of Water and Spirit might be a good book for you to gain a better understanding of it, because the Dagara people studied the stars. They
Okay.
studied the stars to know when to plant, when to move, when to do certain things. So that book may spark something in you to have a better understanding, to not struggle, if that may help. I'll just offer that.
Thank
And
you.
they
I
have
appreciate
the audio book too, if it's not a book you want to purchase, but you can listen to the
it.
audio.
Sometimes the fonts are just too small in a lot of books that there was one that I purchased that you had recommended. I can't remember. The font is so small that it makes me,
Okay. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely look for the audio book if you have some form of a streaming platinum.
I do. Yes. Thank you. Thank you
You
so
are
much.
so
You've given me
welcome.
great
You're so
value.
welcome. Acknowledging Lorraine, because of the mixing of slaves and native Indians. In my family, we have the Tut language, which is a form of Pig Latin. Never heard of
Mm.
Tut language. That's
Mm.
beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Miss Lorraine. Bree, I see your hand is raised.
Yes, hi everyone. Sorry I can't turn on my video, but
It's
I love this topic. Love what has been shared. I definitely have had family members like question, the reverencing of ancestors and finding it to be, very taboo or in their language, like, oh, that's demonic. And, even offering them the Coco movie and then being like, oh, yeah, okay. And just kind of seeing the light bulb come on has been really interesting with certain family members. And then for my own like ancestral altar, just being able to have that as a place of safety. Oftentimes, when my mind wants to particularly kind of wander or be kind of scattered, oftentimes being able to ground myself in front of my altar and just calling on those ancestors that are well. And the download sometimes is like, oh, go make you some lemon balm tea. And just recognizing that they had such wisdom in understanding certain medicines when it came to herbal remedies, and just feeling really connected to that technology, because it's a technology.
Mm.
And our ancestors were so wise and discerning and in using the technology of nature. And so super love what we're sharing today.
Thank you, Bree. Thank you. I appreciate your share. I just had a download, Miss Carolyn, when as I was thinking about the stars. I think I recently saw something about how people may have a conflict with that, but yet it was written in the Bible that the stars were made and the galaxies were made. So again, astrology is a tool, it is a technology. And so I definitely think that Of Water and the Spirit will be able to bring a little bit more understanding.
Thank you. I don't think maybe I'm using the wrong terminology to the stars and the alignment, all of that and the it's more like, oh, I'm a Scorpio and these are the characteristics that are attached to my sign and all of that stuff.
Got you. I definitely understand that. Yes, only way for the three wise men to find Jesus was through the stars. And so if there are apps out there on your phone that you can place and look up at the stars, and it will show you the formations of the stars look like those zodiac signs that you just mentioned. So in studying the stars, there is a part in the universe where it looks like a scorpion, where the stars are shaped just like that. Or the Sagittarius, which looks like a half man, half horse, the stars are shaped like a bow and arrow. So the more you go into the cosmology of things, it can possibly bring up more clarity in that understanding of why zodiacs are, why that energy is tied to it. So yes, some of it can appear to be man-made, but to me, when it comes to that, there were planets that were in a particular place and time when you were born. And so you're not just a Scorpio, for example. Where was the moon when you were born? Where was Mars when you were born? Where were these planets when you were born, and how do they affect your being? Because to me, I'm an illustrator of a book called You Are a Star. We are all stardust in this physical body at the end of the day, to me. So what star, celestial star family did you come from? Because again, if we're all from the stars, it's all part of our ancestral DNA at some point. Hope
I
that
love
helps.
I love gazing at the stars. You know, I keep my blind open for as long as I, can, as long as I'm awake in the evening so that I can look at the moon and the stars and
Well, that means you will love an app, and I will see if I can find an app. It's planetary something, because again, I have a couple of apps that look at the stars, because I love exploring nature, but it's called Planetary, not Planetary Hour, Stellarium, STELL. It's
it's
trying to open right now. Hold on one second. I want to make sure I get it right as I'm sharing, because again, I'm not affiliated with all of these things. I'm not affiliated with the meditation audio that we had in the beginning, but I do share those things that I come in contact with that have helped me along my journey. But it's called Stellarium. So STELLARIUM. Stellarium, and it'll allow you to point your phone up to the sky, and you can start to look more at what you're looking at from a closer perspective.
Oh, okay. So it's an app.
Yes,
And
it's an
if I may, Frederick Douglass started the North Star newspaper,
Yes, yes,
and he was using the North Star as the symbol of guiding slaves from the South to the North.
yes.
So when we talk about stars, let's keep that in mind too. So
Yeah,
ancestor technology is everywhere. So
yeah.
it's everywhere. So
And for sure, it is definitely not the stars that, I attach to something
yeah,
demonic.
it's the zodiac more so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
gotcha.
And just remembered actually when I was a little girl, the Zodiac killer was in the news forever. And whenever there
Mm.
was any newscast about that, we have an aunt we had who was an elder then in Louisiana, and she would call our home and attempt to gather up my siblings and I. Where are you? Where are you? Go down to the school and get your brother. He's playing basketball. Go check. Everybody has to come home because the Zodiac killer is out.
Mm.
And I can still hear Aunt Guy, so her name is Aunt Guy and Aunt Rose saying that. The Zodiac killer is out there. Go get your brother. Go get, yeah.
So it's interesting, and I don't know if you picked up on that, Shahid, but the connection that causes the block because of the Zodiac killer growing up,
Yeah.
that may have created the block in you even understanding zodiac signs.
I see. I
Yes. And
see.
I just got that. I mean, that was just
Yeah.
downloaded
Yep.
to my brain.
See how with these conversations just put a little
Yeah.
spark.
Yeah.
Right.
So I
Trigger
want to
something.
share, I do want to share the other book that I made for those that are not on the Zoom live, and I couldn't put it in the chat, but this is the other book. Again, my grandmother's hand, racialized trauma and the pathway to mending our hearts and bodies. Very, 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 very good book. It is a book that you can also hear audio wise as well for those that may have trouble reading small print. And it has a Kindle version. So if you want to look at it on your phone, you can, I'm sure, bring up the size.
Yeah, can I just mention something on that book? If anyone has friends, family members that are not Black, that's a great book to give, a white individual or someone who is on PLC, because he offers a lot of exercises particularly white people, to recognize how their trauma impacts their bodies and therefore impacting people of color's bodies. So that's a great kind of all around person book.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing that. And then the other thing I wanted to share was the app that I mentioned. This is the proper spelling of it. You can, if you don't want to do the app, you can actually go to .org and look at some things. For me, I am one that studies the stars, and I am looking forward to the 30th, where this three eye atlas, which is really the third eye. It's something that came into our orbit that NASA has been following, that's about to move behind the sun. And so there's a lot of downloads that are coming through during this time frame, because the 30th is also Hallows Eve. And then Friday we have Halloween, and then we have Day of the Dead, and then All Saints Day. So I definitely implore you this time frame to really find a moment to be still, find a moment to light a candle, maybe even cook a meal and put a plate to the side, because that is one way that I do honor. I might even buy their favorite cake or cook their favorite foods, play their music, tell their stories, because if we're not telling their stories, then they're not keeping the energy alive. And I'm from a very old lineage because we weren't telling stories. I was told in my first consultation that my lineage is very old. And when I look at the descendants, not many of us have children and great, 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 great children. So partly, possibly because they weren't talked about in order for us to keep them, for them to come back. If they're just seeing what's going on, they're like, I don't want to come back to that.
Right.
Because it is a lot going on right now, but we were built for these times. We were made for this time. But it is calling upon our own DNA, not worrying about this dollar and being fearful of the dollar that has these other entities and energies. If we look, gold is becoming more of a thing. Minerals are becoming more of a thing. So I definitely thank you, Shahid. If you have any last thing that you would like to share, because I know you do have to go, I want to honor your time. But any last words that you would like to share from the perspective of your profession and as a practitioner of one who studies nature and your ancestors?
Yeah, the only thing I would share is we have to be honest with ourselves. I think that's the most important thing about beginning our journey on healing, is being honest with self, and not being embarrassed or feeling shame when we find out something about ourselves that we didn't know about ourselves. I think that's important. And then when we know about ourselves, we have the opportunity at that moment to change ourselves. Um, so that's the only thing I would share with you all. Thank you so much for having me this morning. It's afternoon in Louisiana, but thank you for having me this morning. Yeah, Kimmy, I appreciate this opportunity to be with you, to see you again, and thank everyone for just having this space for us to talk about the ancestors.
Absolutely. I definitely would love to share. However, the website is down, but I will share the information if you do want to reach out. I was trying to pull it up so they can see, but it's giving me an error. But it is poccounseling.com and /Shahid dash Abdul Kareem dash LMSW. You can also find him on IG at Shahid, that's SHAHID as in dog, A B as in boy, D as in dog, ULKARIM, so that you are able to reach out to him if you are interested and reach out to him. Again, the network is here. I always love bringing people here to share their wisdom, their knowledge, their perspective. So thank you again. You all have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you all next Monday at Mindful Mondays with Ia, Kimmy, and the Good Life, brought to you by UC Davis in the city of Oakland. You all take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good hearing your voice, Bree.
Yes, miss you. Love you,
You
Yuki.
too.
All right. Bye.
Bye. You speak soon. Speak soon. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Gail. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Deborah Butler, Deborah Nixon, Dolores, Inez, Mary, Rebecca. First time seeing your name. Welcome. Tamiko, Willie Cooper, Latanya. Thank you all. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful week.